We are now joined on the show by Thomas Kosterg, who's a European economist with StanChart Bank. He joins us on the show from London. Now, Thomas, to begin with, Spain has moved to nationalize Bankia, which is having a positive effect on the markets. But could this be a sign that Rajoy's government will be forced to step in a much bigger way to save its banks, which could weigh heavily on the country's finances?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Spanish banking sector, it remains a key issue in Spain. The Spanish government has chosen a gradual approach to increase provisions on a gradual basis, and this is in stark contrast by the path chosen by Ireland, which chose the bad bank path. So Spain is now doing a U-turn. It wants to isolate toxic assets into a new vehicle, a possible bad bank, although it refuses to call it a bad bank. And also it's increasing the provisioning level for the banking sector, especially for assets related to the construction and real estate sector. Having said this, there are still worries about the insufficient transparency in the real estate sector, and this could continue to weigh on confidence, especially on the Spanish bonds going forward.
Right now, Thomas, with the benefit of hindsight, do you think it might have been a better idea for Spain to have allowed some of the cajas to fail rather than fold them into Bankia, because Bankia itself is posing to be a bigger headache than the 7 cajas may have been?
Yes, so Spain has chosen a gradual approach, and this, as I said, this is in stark contrast to the path chosen by Ireland, which was a bad bank. The problem with a bad bank is that it crystallizes immediately losses, and those losses are at risk to fall on the state balance sheet. So that's a big risk for Spanish public debt. So the Spanish government has tried to not to accept losses from the banking sector, and that's why it has chosen this gradual approach. But the problem is that real estate prices continue to drop in Spain. There is still a huge uncertainty about Spanish real estate prices, and more importantly, private sector appetite is low for those assets, and also for giving more capital to the banking system. There's a big fear that the Spanish government may have to intervene more and may have to support the banking sector by a bigger amount.
Now, Thomas, would you say it is a no-win position that Spanish banks are being forced into, because the regulator wants to increase the provisions on mortgages to 30% from 7%, which could make new business difficult given that capital is becoming increasingly difficult to raise. At the same time, they are grappling with the problems of their existing mortgage book.
Yes, you're right. So the big problem in Spain is the fact that real estate prices are not stabilizing. Prices continue to drop, and furthermore, you have a big uncertainty on valuation of those real estate assets. And you have many real estate series, by the way, which are not showing the same drop in prices. So there's big uncertainty about valuation. But more importantly, now the Spanish economy is in recession. Unemployment is going up now at above 20%, and this could also affect loans outside outside real estate mortgages and general loans like credit card loans and so on and so forth. So there's a big fear now that losses could be even beyond real estate loans and beyond exposure to the mere real estate sector.
Now, Thomas, would you go so far as to say that the emerging Spanish banking crisis could only be the beginning, that the problem could slowly spread further to possibly even other countries in the Eurozone?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think in Spain, and this is in contrast to other countries like Italy, you have a boom and bust cycle in the real estate sector. It's not the case in Italy, for instance. It's not the case in other countries. The good news here is that there is a European rescue fund, the EFSF, which is to be replaced by the ESM from this summer, and this fund has enough money come to the rescue should Spain need money to recapitalize its banks. So that's the good news. The other good news is that the European Central Bank stands ready to help Spanish banks, and Spanish banks have been big users of the European Central Bank's liquidity, and this is really helping in terms of liquidity issues for the banking sector.
Thomas Kostek, many thanks for coming in on the show with your take on the outlook for Spain.